It's the update we've all been waiting for. Tomorrow, it looks like we might have the Colossals coming. I'm just left here startled. I don't even know how to begin this thing, but we have a lot to go over today. Here it is, the image we have all been waiting for. Inside of this image, it states an event 10 years in the making. And as you guys know, we have been waiting for the Colossals for a humongous amount of time. And at the very center of this image, it is all but revealed, as the dot inside of the 3.8 update banner is revealed to be an eye. And going back to that Colossals Awakening trailer, there's nothing else really that can represent the Colossals Awakening better than an eye. Surrounding this image banner though, quite interestingly, is different ruptures around the background here. What specifically this could mean, I think there's quite a few implications here. Now we know behind the Colossals' backstory that the Colossals weren't placed into the islands themselves when a huge disruption occurred, or rather the cataclysm of the continent. So going back to this, I think that this image banner might be referencing towards those events and how the Colossals weren't placed into the islands themselves in the first place. And going by how this is supposed to be for the premiere of the next trailer behind the game too, it could be the case that we might encounter the cataclysm in the very trailer itself, which is all too exciting in itself. But besides that, we've got to go over now how the Colossals are going to awaken inside of the game itself. If the Colossals are going to be coming tomorrow, then going back to his Colossals Mark series, it was predicted over there that Tribal Island Kana might have been placed in amber by the very same effects that likely caused the Colossals to forget how to sing. So if that's the case, then surely those two things probably would be linked together. And going off of how Tribal Island Kana is revived on Tribal Island, it's actually through the music itself, as once you collect all of the monsters and gather them in your tribe, that's the thing that causes Kana to break out of the amber in the first place. So going through that, I think that the Colossals themselves might awaken thanks to the monsters' music, and that therefore the monsters being acquired somewhere could be the thing that allows the Colossals to awaken. So if a specific set of island or monsters or whatever you want to say, this music needs to be achieved in order for the Colossals to awaken themselves, where would this music happen? Well, if we go on back to the Colossals being revealed to be awoken in the very first place, Pom Pom lifts up a very peculiar image here. If we zoom into this image here, I originally thought this was Plant Island, but on further inspection, it looks like this could be a new island itself. So if this is a new island, then this could be the thing that allows the Colossals to awaken. This island isn't an island that we've seen anywhere else. There's a huge tree in the background here and different ornaments scattered at the very back of it, and the Colossal's eyes are open on this island, likely hinting towards a Colossal we're going to encounter on this island that perhaps allows us once more to awaken the Colossals on the other islands. And if we go on back to DP Sing 800's comment, who recently took part in an Ultimate Creator thing where they got to participate with the creators behind the game in order to create a decoration of their own. If we go on back to what they've mentioned here, they say that Monster Handler Matt briefly mentioned when they were chatting with them about a new project that required new recordings for Sponge and probably the rest of the naturals going from this, and that they've been working on it since 2017 or 2018, and going by how ginormous the Colossals are and how we've been waiting for them, as it reveals in that banner, for 10 years. And I do think that these two things would be linked together, and that therefore this island is quite likely the exact same thing that is being mentioned here with the recordings for Sponge. So if Sponge is on this island, which is going to help to restore the harmony behind the monster world, and Sponge is one of the monsters who's going to contribute towards the song that allows the Colossals to awaken, then what else would be on this island? Well, if we go on over to Monster Handler Matt, we might be able to work out a little bit more.
I can reveal that the next new monster in Dawn of Fire will actually be quite an old monster. One that will be familiar to some. No timeline on that, but that's currently what we've got earmarked as the next thing.
So Monster Handler Matt has revealed here that next up for Dawn of Fire, we're going to be encountering Mimic. And seen as though they wanted to get it out by the very end of the year, mentioned by DP Sing 800 inside of this comment, and we know that Mimic is going to be coming to Dawn of Fire soon, and they would not leave it out from My Singing Monsters, then I do think that Mimic could be the thing that this island is based around. Rather than it just being featured around the Colossals themselves, I think that this island could feature Mimic, and that Mimic and all of the monsters required for Mimic could be the monsters contributing towards the song that allows the Colossals to awaken in the first place. If we go on back in game, if you're still unsettled by this theory, recently inside of the game, there's been the Putting on Airs promotion, where all of the air elemental rares were available for a limited amount of time. And going back to us quints, what do we know about them? We know that the quints are linked towards an individual element. So for Candelabra, we have its link towards the fire element, and with Dromedary, we have the link towards the earth element. And seeing as though Mimic has lots of feathers and that lovely beak that they have, I think that it would be the case that Mimic is linked towards the air element. So this promotion right here could be hinting towards Mimic's upcoming appearance. And going by that island drawing, I think if we put 2 and 2 together here, this could be an island made up of all of the natural monsters and Mimic itself. It's supposed to be coming to Dawn of Fire soon, so it would make a lot of sense that it would be making its way towards My Singing Monsters also in the future. And seeing as though this island has to have some kind of purpose with Sponge, there's got to be something behind it, some kind of reason why they'd want to put it together, as right now Mimic can't really go on Amber Island lore-wise, seeing as though that's supposed to be a home for all of the fire elementals. So having this home for these naturals makes a lot of sense. And if we put 2 and 2 together here, the Colossals that are going to be awakening first are all of the natural Colossals. As first up, tomorrow, I do think we're going to be seeing the Plant Island Colossal awaken as revealed inside of the trailer. So going back to that, all of the elements being represented on this island here, such as the plant element and all of the natural ones, I do think having them elements represented on this island is supposed to link towards the Colossals we are going to be seeing inside of the game. If this island is Mimic Island, and this is tied towards how we're going to unlock the Colossals, and we know it's tied to the music, then how is this all going to fit together? Well, as we've been mentioning all along, his first option would be for the monsters themselves. Once placed on this island and contributing towards the song, that could allow for the Colossals to be awake themselves. So let's say once you get all of the plant elementals on Mimic Island, or all of the Plant Island monsters, whatever kind of requirement they might be behind this Plant Island Colossal, once you get all of those together, maybe it could be the case that the Plant Island Colossal awakens from that, and that's how the Colossal awakens in the first place. The second option that I could see is just boxing these monsters, or like to box on Mimic Island so that the Plant Island Colossal can be achieved. But something that I've been really trying to question here is if this would be the case, then why would you not just box all of the Plant Island monsters in the first place? And therefore I think it is going to be a little bit more tied towards the song and more of a reward aspect for collecting all of the monsters on this island. I saw a lot of people commenting on the original Colossals theory video that it could be the case that once you collect all of the monsters on that island, that the Colossal could awaken. And I think bouncing off of that idea perhaps with Mimic Island and having these set of requirements, whatever they may be, on Mimic Island itself could allow for the Plant Island Colossal to awaken. As if it's just going to be eggs here, it won't feel as though that the island is quite as necessary towards the Colossal's mechanic, and therefore I think it is going to have to harken back to his first one here. If it isn't Mimic Island, then it could absolutely link back once more, I think, towards just having all of the Plant Island monsters, as seen as though the monstroglyphics hint towards having a complete island song, and the song itself being the thing that restores harmony in the first place. Having all the monsters there makes a lot of sense towards how that would make the Colossals awaken. But guys, as most important thing that we've got to discuss here is what the Colossals are gonna do. The most exciting thing, of course. Regardless of however they awaken, I don't care about that right now. This needs to be exciting. Whatever kind of reward you get from the Colossals awakening, it must be super good. I mean, this is something that we've literally been waiting for 10 years as proclaimed inside of this banner. This is something that's been teased towards us for years with the Colossals, and something that we've honestly wanted as a community for a really long time. And therefore, whatever kind of contribution the Colossals make towards the song, I think it's got to be quite a big one. Something that is brand new towards the game. Something that leaves a spectacle and brings out something that we've never seen before. And I think in order to do that, we've got to have something perhaps such as the Colossals themselves integrating themselves into the song. I'm not sure whether they do this, as the Colossals are really big creatures, but if the Colossals are to be freed in the first place, I think them remembering how to sing would be the option to go down, honestly. It's My Singing Monsters, and having the Colossals back unable to sing, still having forgot how to sing, might be something that the game isn't really striving for. And going by that, I think maybe we might see them sing. And if they are to sing, these are humongous creatures, and I think therefore they are going to have a lot to contribute towards the songs themselves. This is something that has been supposedly in development since 2017 17/18. So going back to that, I'm expecting some right big things from this update, and I think that this update could be the biggest thing that we have ever seen in My Singing Monsters history. It brings into question what they will do towards the mechanics behind the game once they're awoken, as there's got to be some kind of reward behind them. Seeing as though with the monsters you collect currency from them and so forth, I think there's got to be something like that with the Colossals. Don't necessarily think that this is going to be currency this time around though. The Colossals, I think they're going to have a lasting impact towards these islands and shouldn't necessarily correlate towards currency itself. And I think going off of either the islands themselves, this could come in the form of perhaps an island expansion or maybe some kind of island buffs that they grant on the specific islands that they're awoken on themselves. I think there's definitely a lot to be said here towards what it could be, but I'm very uncertain towards what it could be, so I'm gonna move on from that. But I think when you do unlock the Colossals themselves, something that I really want to see is an animated cutscene. The Colossals, we've been waiting for them for years, so getting that moment to see them awaken as you've unlocked them would be an absolutely insane moment where we'll just lose his minds. So I think that needs to be the case. Like to the Wobbling Island and Celestial Island cutscenes where you see the Wobblings awaken and the Celestials be revived, I think that's got to be here for the Colossals too. Somewhat similar towards the trailer, honestly, where we see the Colossals come to life and whatever boosts they may grant also spin on up inside of this animated cutscene. I think this brings up to question whether we will see the Colossal spirits in-game to themselves. I think at the moment it's been hinted that we might not be seeing that aspect, but that could be something that we save for later. It doesn't all need to come now. We could even have spirits on Mimic Island for all I know, with perhaps the boxing structure or whatever being the spirits themselves. But I think as of right now, we are going to be saving seeing the spirit forms of the Colossals perhaps for a later time. I don't sense that this is going to be coming inside of this update, but something that I want to see inside of this update too is to finally learn the Colossals' names. We don't have any names behind these creatures. We know about Necrol and Phosphor and all these Titan names, but we know nothing behind the Colossals' names. And the Colossals have done so much behind the monster world. We're going to get to discover that, I'm sure, inside of the bios behind these, as we'll likely see the specific creations that each Colossal has embarked upon. Like, we know that the Colossals, for example, made all of the Ethereal Island experiments, but we don't know what specifically each one has created. So I think getting to know more about that inside of these bios is something that I'm particularly going to be looking out for. But these Colossals, just give them names, man. I need these names. I just call them Plant Island Colossal. We need some kind of reckoning to go off of as we're bringing forward these new Colossals. I think it's going to be weird to just go Plant Island Colossal or whatever. I think giving them names will give them much more of a unique taste as we're learning about these new island personalities perhaps inside of each one's bio. I do think that we're just going to be discovering the Plant Island Colossal tomorrow, but we'll have to wait upon seeing how the release behind these goes, as these are likely to be put forward likely in a very different fashion towards what we've seen in the past, especially going by how this island connection might be made here and the specific requirements. Perhaps the release behind the monsters on there and the Colossal themselves will be somewhat intertwined, and the requirements perhaps will release alongside the Colossal. We'll have to wait a little bit more, I do think, on that one though. Now, Mimic Island though, can we just talk about this? I mean, we're talking about the Colossals right now, and we've completely skipped out upon Mimic Island, a brand new island potentially, with all of the 13 natural monsters. That's a whopping amount, guys. That's a crazy amount. The monsters for these are quite likely to arrive in waves, but just going by that huge amount, that's on par with Amber Island. That's a huge amount of monsters that we're going to be seeing on it. I think that the island itself will involve relics in some way, seeing as though relics do harken back to the World Tree, and that's something that the Colossals do go by. They're very much intertwined the lore into the World Tree. I do imagine that the relics are going to be involved on Mimic Island in some way, and I don't know what form that would be. Maybe they just cost relics, these monsters, and then you breed them on this island. I'm expecting for it to be a breeding island, maybe, but going by the huge development time that this island has had, 4 years in the making, going by these sponge recordings, perhaps it's been something afloat during this time and it's not been worked on fully inside of that time, but still, that's a huge amount of time that they've been putting into this island and conceptualizing it. So therefore, I think these mechanics are going to differ on this island in some way, and I'm not sure how that that is going to work out, but I think the linking back towards the Colossals is going to inform how we collect the monsters on this island quite a lot. Going from this huge amount of time, I've got to say that this could be composed by anyone. This island has been in development that long that I'm expecting that, honestly, we might have the original voice actors here. We've probably got Dave Kerr himself voicing the monsters once more on this island, the very legend himself. But we've had so many composers come along at this point. I'm honestly expecting that this island could have been composed by every single one of them. If it's been in development for that long, then it's likely that each one has had some kind of a touch on it. So that includes Dave Kerr, Sam, who composed Magical Sanctum, and Tom, who's composed Mythical Island, and all of these different musical abilities coming together, which is a really exciting aspect to look at. But going back to that banner, there was the cracks there, and therefore I'm expecting some big lore to come out of this. The trailer itself, but not just that, I think we're going to be seeing it inside of the bios too. These Colossals have done too much inside of the monster world, and therefore I think there's got to be some linking back to that and some advancements upon their lore itself. I think going by the cracks upon the banner itself, we are going to be discovering a little bit about the Cataclysm. Whether we're going to fully discover what happened inside of the Cataclysm or not is a little debatable. I think we're going to gradually find out more about the Cataclysm through these Colossals releases. I don't think they're going to reveal it all at once. I think we're going to learn quite a lot inside of this trailer though, going by the hint in here, but I think it's quite likely a situation that they are going to tease towards certain elements with the Cataclysm, but not reveal it fully. I think specifically with who caused it to, that's still going to remain a mystery, especially seeing as though the Colossals quite likely have forgotten what exactly happened, going by how they have been affected in the same way as Tribal Island Kana. I mean, the trailer behind this thing will probably end up being the biggest My Singing Monsters trailer in the game's history. The amount of lore that is likely to be put into this trailer is going to be insane, and the largest amount comprehensible. I don't think that this can be put in any other way, and I think therefore we are going to see how they wake up, yes, but I also think we're going to see a story unfold inside of this trailer. It's long been speculated how the Colossals are going to awaken themselves, so finally getting the moment inside of a trailer feels like a really big moment, and I'm expecting for some big characters to come along inside of this. We've got Galvana, for example, who was the one who created Wurbox in order to help out the Colossals so that they could still remain sentient inside of the islands, as that's Wurbox's purpose. And we also have Tribal Island Kana, who was emplaced in Amber, quite likely to make them forget who caused the Cataclysm. So I think all of these things coming together in order to save the Colossals would make a lot of sense, and it's honestly something that I'd expect out of this trailer. Whether it's just one of them coming forward, or in fact all of them preferably, I do think we're going to be seeing a lot of lore-heavy characters inside of this, and for this to be the most epic trailer yet. That's what I'm hoping anyways. This deserves the world, going by how big this update is, and it honestly being the biggest update that I've ever wanted, and probably you guys have wanted with me too. So I would really like to see the quest that the monsters have to go on in order to awaken the Colossals in the first place, not just from a gameplay perspective, but I think putting it in a lore perspective in the trailer is really important in this case, and just seeing how potentially the Colossals remember how to sing in the first place. Whether we see the Cataclysm or not, or signs of it, remains to be seen, but the cracks surrounding this banner certainly hint that there's going to be some lore-heavy drops here regarding the Cataclysm. We don't just have that though, we don't just have Mimic Island and the Colossals potentially coming tomorrow, as it's also being revealed that the festival, oh yay, is going to be starting tomorrow. So let's talk about that for a little bit. So in the very back of the Big Chill promotion, we can see that there's a new costume at the very back here. We've got Strombonin looking towards it, and that is in fact because it's a new Strombonin costume, as you can see from the little scales that are arising off of this monster in the same colour tone. And it's quite likely we're going to be seeing some other costumes too, which is quite exciting. Nowhere near as exciting as this Colossals update. My god, I'm still recovering. Okay. And I'm finding it very hard to talk about costumes when there's such a large thing presented in front of me that I'm simply can't stop thinking about. Anyway, LolCows over on the My Singing Monsters Wiki has designed this Strombonin costume based on this teaser that we've got here. I really like this design once more. The rest of the mythicals now at this point have costumes for the retrospective events. For example, Yorsh Rage and Gajube, they have their Spookticle and Season of Love ones tied towards the seasonal events behind those islands. So it being Strombonin here is absolutely absolutely lovely to see. And I really love as well the mistletoe that they've put around Strombone. Strombone is absolutely not the kind of creature you would put that around, but the fact that you've gone and done that here, just going off of that crunchy one and how grumpy this thing is, I don't understand how Strombone managed to get that mistletoe around it, but it's quite a funny thing to think about. It's been such a long time coming, and this is the biggest thing I have ever wanted in my Singing Monsters history, and this could end up being my favourite day ever tomorrow, getting to discover this update with you guys. I think I'm going to dress in something a little bit more formal tomorrow, as we've got to have some specialness behind this reaction, I think, and I do want to be dressed up my best for this occasion, so I think I'm going to dress up a little bit for tomorrow. So if you guys have any ideas, maybe I should put on a shirt or something. You guys let me know what you think about that. Anyway though, guys, make sure to let me know what you think about this insane update that's going to be arriving tomorrow. It's going to be really exciting, and I cannot wait to experience it with you guys. The fact that we are finally getting this, oh man, it's going to be a real bombshell tomorrow. Okay, I'm gonna go for now. I'll see you guys later. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed that and to subscribe. But now I will be freaking out about this update inside of my head, thinking about all of the different ways that the Colossals could be awoken, this insane lore we're gonna be discovering, and everything else, including Strombone's mistletoe, apparently. I don't know whether that would actually happen. I want to see something around Strombone now, just so it can, like, be the most annoyed monster on the planet. That's gonna happen. Anyway, though, guys, I'll see you later for now. Bye, guys.